The Cold War wasn't just about missiles and armies, it was a different kind of fight, a silent one. It was fought in the shadows, on street corners, and in quiet back rooms. The real soldiers were spies. Their weapons weren't rifles or tanks. They were everyday objects. A pen, a cigarette lighter, a simple coin. These things looked harmless, normal. But, they held secrets that could change the world. This was a war of information. The side with the best intelligence had the upper hand. Survival depended not on brute force, but on cunning and ingenuity. It was a battle of wits, where the smallest detail could mean the difference between success and capture. Imagine you're deep in enemy territory. You can't carry a weapon. You can't look like a soldier. You have to blend in. Your mission is to gather vital information and get it back to your handlers. Every person you pass on the street could be an enemy agent. Every move you make is being watched. In this environment, your greatest strength is your ability to disappear into the crowd, to become invisible. The tools you carry must support this illusion. They must look like they belong there, part of your everyday life. This is the essence of tradecraft. It's about using your environment and your wits to survive and complete your mission. The real danger wasn't a sudden explosion, it was a quiet click. The sound of a hidden camera shutter. It was a whispered conversation recorded by a microphone hidden in a tie pin. The stakes were incredibly high. A captured spy faced interrogation, imprisonment, or worse. The information they carried could prevent a war, or start one. This invisible battlefield required a new kind of soldier. One who could think on their feet, adapt to any situation, and trust their instincts. They had to be masters of disguise, not just of their appearance, but of their intentions and their tools. The gadgets were their lifeline. This was the ultimate survival game. It wasn't about finding food and water in the wild. It was about finding truth in a world of lies. It was about staying one step ahead of an enemy who was just as clever, just as determined as you. The lessons learned in these back alleys and safe houses were brutal but effective. They taught us that the most powerful weapon isn't always the one that makes the most noise. Sometimes, it's the one that no one ever sees. The quiet, unassuming tool that gets the job done when everything is on the line. It's a mindset of constant awareness and resourcefulness. Why did spies need these special gadgets? Simple. Survival. An operative behind the Iron Curtain couldn't just walk around with a radio transmitter and a camera. That's a death sentence. You had to hide your tools in plain sight. The goal was to make the extraordinary look completely ordinary. A spy's equipment had to pass a casual glance and even a more thorough inspection. If you were stopped and searched, the last thing you wanted was for them to find a spy kit, but a tube of lipstick, a shaving brush, or a pair of cufflinks. Nobody would look twice at those. This principle is all about reducing risk. Every piece of gear that looked suspicious increased your chances of getting caught. So, intelligence agencies, like the CIA and the KGB, poured resources into creating these incredible devices. They hired engineers and craftsmen to build cameras that fit inside a button on your coat. They designed microphones that could be hidden inside a fountain pen. It was a technological arms race happening in secret. The challenge was to make the gadgets smaller, more effective, and more cleverly disguised than the other sides. This constant innovation pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Consider the mindset. You're living a double life. By day you might be a diplomat, a journalist, or a businessman. But your real job starts when no one is looking. You need to be able to switch from your cover identity to your operational role in an instant. Your tools had to support this transition seamlessly. A hollow book on your shelf isn't just a hiding place, it's part of your cover story as an academic. A cigarette pack that doubles as a camera allows you to take pictures without breaking your cover as a local enjoying a smoke. Every object had to serve a dual purpose. This need for deception drove incredible creativity. It wasn't just about hiding things, it was about creating a complete system of denial. If a secret compartment in a shoe heel was discovered, the shoe still had to function as a shoe. The gadget couldn't compromise the object it was hidden in. This required brilliant design and engineering. The men and women who designed these tools were unsung heroes of the Cold War. They gave their operatives a fighting chance. They armed them with ingenuity, allowing them to operate in the most hostile environments on Earth and get the job done. Let's look at some of the actual gear. These things are incredible. The KGB developed a lipstick pistol. It looked exactly like a tube of lipstick, but it fired a single 4.5mm bullet. It was a last resort weapon for female operatives, a deadly surprise. Then there were the shoe heel transmitters. An operative could have a conversation, and a microphone in their shoe would broadcast it to a nearby listening post. The heel contained the microphone, transmitter, and battery. To the naked eye, it was just a regular shoe. You could walk past guards and checkpoints without anyone knowing you were a walking radio station. Cameras were everywhere, but you'd never see them. The Tessina camera was a marvel of miniaturization. It was so small, it could be hidden in a cigarette pack. A spring-loaded mechanism would pop the camera up, ready to shoot through a small hole when the pack was opened. The CIA also used buttonhole cameras. An operative would wear a coat with a special button that was actually a camera lens. The trigger was a cable that ran down their sleeve into their pocket. They could walk through a military parade, snapping photos of new missile systems, and no one would be the wiser. It's about using the mundane to capture the critical. Hiding things was just as important as recording them. Hollow coins were a classic. A nickel or a quarter could be precisely machined to open up, revealing a tiny cavity inside. This was perfect for smuggling microdots, photographs shrunk down to the size of a pinhead. You could carry an entire document on a single microdot, hidden inside a coin in your pocket. Books were also hollowed out to create secret compartments, or safes, for storing larger items like code books or one-time pads. The key was that the object never lost its original appearance. A book on a shelf attracts no attention. Even something as simple as a pair of glasses could be a tool. The CIA developed glasses that contained a small cyanide pellet hidden in the arm. If an agent was captured and faced torture, they could choose to end their own life by biting down on the arm of their glasses. It's a grim reality, but it shows the extreme lengths these operatives had to go to. Every single item they carried was carefully considered. Was it useful? Could it be disguised? Could it save their life or their mission? These weren't just gadgets, they were instruments of survival, designed for the harshest conditions imaginable. The psychology behind these gadgets is brilliant. It's a concept I call the attention anchor. People's brains are wired to filter out the ordinary. We ignore the things we see every day: a pen on a desk, a comb in a pocket, a matchbox on a table. These things are part of the background noise of life. They don't trigger suspicion. A spy exploits this. By hiding a secret inside a boring everyday object, they anchor your attention to the object's normal function, not its hidden one. You see a bintan scene. Can you think? Writing instrument, not hidden microphone. This is a powerful form of camouflage. In the wild, animals blend into their surroundings to avoid predators. A spy in a city does the same thing, but they use cultural camouflage. They blend in with the human environment. Their disguise is not just the clothes they wear, but the objects they carry. These objects tell a story. They reinforce the spy's cover identity. A businessman carries a briefcase. A student carries books. By embedding gadgets into these props, the spy makes their cover stronger and their tools invisible. The trick is to make the secret a natural part of the scenery. Think about a dead drop. This is where a spy leaves a package for another spy to pick up. You can't just leave a briefcase in a park, that's suspicious. But what if you used a magnetic container disguised as a rock and stuck it to a metal signpost? Or a hollowed-out bolt left in a park bench? Thousands of people might walk past it, but no one will notice it. It's too ordinary. The person who knows it's there can retrieve it safely. The success of the dead drop relies entirely on the object's ability to be ignored by everyone except the intended recipient. This principle is timeless. It worked during the Cold War, and it works today. We are constantly surrounded by so much information and so many objects that we have to filter most of them out just to function. We don't have the mental energy to question everything we see. Is that a water bottle or a secret container? Is that a USB stick or a listening device? Spies and security professionals understand this human tendency. They know that the best hiding place is often the most obvious one, because the obvious is so frequently overlooked. It's a mental blind spot, and it's a weakness that can be powerfully exploited. Gadgets are useless without the right person operating them. You can have the most advanced piece of kit in the world, but if you don't have the skill, courage, and quick thinking to use it under pressure, it's just dead weight. A spy had to be a master of their tools. They had to practice until using a buttonhole camera was as natural as breathing. They needed to know how to place a bug without making a sound, and how to retrieve a dead drop without looking over their shoulder. This wasn't just about technology, It was about human skill. It was about tradecraft. Adaptability is key to survival, whether you're in the jungle or in Moscow. What happens when the gadget fails? What if the battery dies on your transmitter, or your hollow coin gets stuck? The operative can't just give up. They have to improvise. They have to find another way. Maybe they use a prearranged signal, like leaving a chalk mark on a wall. Maybe they use their memory to carry the information. The best spies were the ones who could think on their feet and solve problems with whatever they had available. The gadget was a tool, but the ultimate weapon was their own mind. Training for this was intense. Operatives spent months in secret training facilities learning how to use these devices. They would build and dismantle them to understand how they worked. They would run drills in mock-up cities, practicing surveillance, counter-surveillance, and clandestine communication. They learned to control their fear, to read body language, and to lie with a straight face. The psychological pressure was immense. You are completely alone, with no backup. One mistake could expose you. This level of mental fortitude is rare. It takes a certain kind of person to thrive in that environment. Ultimately, the story of Cold War gadgets is a human story. It's about the ingenuity of the designers who created them and the bravery of the spies who used them. Technology was an enabler, but it was the human element, the courage, the discipline, the resourcefulness that made the difference. A gadget can't make a decision. It can't feel instinct. It can't weigh risk versus reward. Only a person can do that. That's why the best operatives were more than just technicians. They were survivors, thinkers and patriots who put everything on the line in a silent war. The spirit of these Cold War gadgets is alive and well today. The world has changed. The technology is more advanced, but the core principles are exactly the same. Hiding things in plain sight, using deception to gain an advantage, the need for absolute stealth. The lessons learned in the alleys of Berlin and the safe houses of London still apply in our digital age. The battlefield has shifted from physical dead drops to encrypted data streams, but the game of hide-and-seek continues. The tools have evolved, but the mindset remains. Look at modern cybersecurity. Hackers use techniques that are the digital equivalent of a hollow coin. A piece of malware can be hidden inside a seemingly harmless email attachment or a software update. It's designed to be overlooked. It exploits our trust in the ordinary. Corporate spies today might not use a lipstick pistol, but they might use a USB stick that looks like a keychain ornament to steal company secrets. The principle of the attention anchor is still being used to bypass our defenses. We are trained to look for obvious threats, not the ones disguised as everyday digital traffic. The push for miniaturization that defined Cold War spy tech paved the way for the consumer electronics we use every day. The need to create tiny cameras, microphones, and transmitters accelerated the development of microelectronics. The smartphone in your pocket is a direct descendant of this legacy. It's a powerful listening device, a high-resolution camera, and a global communication tool all in one. The technologies that were once the exclusive domain of spies are now available to everyone. This creates new opportunities, but also new vulnerabilities that intelligence agencies must navigate. In the end, the most important lesson from the Cold War's secret gadgets is about the balance between technology and human intelligence. Today we have satellites that can read a license plate from space and computers that can analyze billions of data points, but technology alone is not enough. We still need the human spy. The person on the ground who can understand context, build trust, and make sense of the information. The gadgets are more powerful than ever, but they are still just tools. The real weapon remains the well-trained, adaptable, and resourceful human mind. That is a survival lesson that will never change.